What is up YouTube, it's Kingfisher745, and today we are finally going to take a look at Silk in PvP. In this one we're going to have 3 different team ups, but we will come back to our favorite ones in a later video. And oddly enough, it came as quite a surprise which one was actually my favorite, or at least tied for my favorite. First up though, we do have Avalanche and Silk. And Avalanche has a level 6 Epicenter, which is a quick action that's going to generalize all the enemies. This works perfectly with Silk and her hyper reflexes. That passive says block, gain rising up, and counter with webbed against generalist and generalized targets. So right off the bat we have a pretty epic connection between these two. That move also exhausts the enemies, so it's really amazing. Then since we have a level 15 Avalanche, we'll gain Close the Gap. Following that free action, we can actually use our level 2, and we'll follow it up with our Fault Line. That ability has Opportunist. The reason why this is important is because both his level 9 and the Grace Note, which we're using on our agent, has Exploit Opportunity. But we'll see more about our agent's setup later. By the way, since this is going to be the longest match of the video, I did at least want to address the Warbringer Axe. We're going to use it in our next setup, but as far as making its own video on whether or not it's worth buying, I may not get around to it. So basically what I want to say is, it's still a very awesome weapon. Honestly though, I haven't really used it in PvP in quite a long time, and while I was thinking about it more recently, I decided that I will try to use it more this season. When it comes down to whether or not you should buy it, that kind of depends on your setup. Oh, but before I get into that more, first there's the Grace Note with Exploit Opportunity, and there we have the Manvantara. This AoE weapon has Opportunist and Temporal, so it ignores most avoidance effects and does not trigger protect abilities. Typically I would start with that weapon, but since we have a chance to take out Beast, I had to pull the trigger, and it pays off. But just to go back to the Warbringer Axe for a second, I always use it in PvE, and like I said, it is a great weapon that could benefit you in PvP as well. You can even go and check out my top 10 gold items list, and you'll find it there. I'll place a link to that video somewhere in this one, and although it may have slipped somewhere in the ranking, if it were up to me, I would still buy it all over again. Now as for this current battle, on my agent's turn, first of all we're not exhausted anymore, so I can go ahead and use our quick action Venom Launcher. It's become one of my favorite quick actions right now. That near fatal was incredible, not to mention envenomed and incapacitation. But after we fire that weapon, we can then use the Light Fantastic to remove all of our debuffs. This is really critical as we would have been in some trouble if we had to keep those debuffs. But what this does is it allows Avalanche to live and once again use his Epicenter. As we already saw, that ability is amazing, and it doesn't even have that bad of a cooldown. Then after using our level 15 free action Close the Gap once again, we'll start with the Shockwave, and then get a Fault Line follow-up on the enemy agent. With all of these Opportunist debuffs, he should really be getting set up for a big hit from the Grace Note. But first, with Silk, we're going to use her level 1, and try to lock down the enemy Enchantress with Webbed. She already has 1 stack, so this shouldn't be too difficult. Unfortunately though, we get hit with an interrupting Brawl, and don't even get to attack. Because of that, the enemy agent definitely became our main target, and he really has to go. So we fire the Grace Note, dropping him to 11,000 HP. Then on Avalanche's turn, we'll use the big one, and this does trigger near fatal. So with only Enchantress remaining, Silk's going to finally get to use her level 9. That Web Rush hits for nearly 20k and wins the fight. So not a bad way to end our first match. Next up, we're going to use Iron Fist, and this is for a few reasons. 1, he's just incredible as a healer and with Combo Breaker. 2, he does have deadly crits on his level 2 once you use the Heart of Shou-Lao. That means with the snaring AISO and against a web target, it's going to do a huge crit. And 3, his heals are going to give Rising Up, which will help out Silk and her level 9. Now for this one we decided to use the small Hadron Collider, and so that actually made our abilities have guaranteed hit and crit. But the snaring AISO is still a good thought, though I guess it doesn't matter in this case. The Collider would have also been good in our last team up because of Super Sheer Earthquake. But anyways, we end up having to pass our turn. Or, well, we didn't have a say in it because of a very lucky Cower proc. But with Iron Fist, after using the Heart of Shou-Lao, we could heal our team and engage those Rising Up buffs. But instead, the possibility to take down Molly right here and now, I have to believe is the best option. And obviously by the time I got done saying that, it proved true. So we do a huge crit on them, and they do one right back on our agent. Alright, so it's 2-on-2 and we're going to need our Silk to do some real work. The enemy agent is interrupted on his preemptive counter, but he still gets to fire it. And then we do hit him with the web drop. That causes some absorb energy damage, and then on his turn he uses the Kara Fist. At this point we're going to use our Healing Chi on Silk, and this not only takes her back to full health, it's going to give her some Rising Up buffs. Then luckily the enemy's Iron Fist attack misses. And now as you can see, Web Rush has Finest Hour, but sadly we only have Fortified. It still looks like it's going to do quite a bit of damage, so we use Web Rush and it hits for 33k. Nearly 34,000. So that was definitely Silk coming through in the clutch, and now we only have one enemy remaining. Iron Fist softens up his doppelganger, and now hopefully Silk can finish him off. That's right, there's no cooldown on Web Rush, so we can use it again right away. This time there's no crit, but it takes him right down to 525 HP, and any attack will win this match. I'd say Silk definitely had a good showing in that one. But now for our favorite team, or at least the one tied for first. We're actually using Constrictor. And I don't know, maybe I like using characters I haven't used for quite a while, or that you don't really see. But I did have quite a bit of fun bringing him out. First of all, we did our Distress Call, and it does a decent amount of damage. If that Rapier would have hit, it would have been really incredible. With follow-up attacks, it's actually possible that you may knock someone out with a free action Distress Call. That would be cool, I have to admit. But it doesn't happen this time. Then the other thing I wanted to point out is his Crackdown does have Generalized, and so that will work out with Silk and her passive. Lastly, his Snake Eater has deadly crits, so we put the snaring AISO on it, and that's going to make that move pretty impressive. Also, the Relentless Rapier is proving to be a good choice for our setup. I felt like it was going to work out this team, and it definitely is so far. Now unfortunately Enchantress is in attack mode, but Silk is going to protect against one of her magic missiles, and there's her Silk Shield counter. That all comes courtesy of her being generalized and our passive on Silk. Next up with our agent, we're going to begin with our Venom Launcher as a quick action, but we will get hit with a Grace Note first. After this attack, the enemy team's going to have Incapacitation, which Constrictor will benefit from. They also are envenomed, plus they have Near Fatal. I'm pretty confident that you're going to see Near Fatal proc at least once or twice. But on Silk's turn, we're going to use her level 9 Web Rush, and we could take out either of these two. We'll focus on their agent first though, and he gets dropped. Then as I mentioned earlier, we do have Snake Eater with deadly crits, exploit stun, and snared target. So we'll go ahead and try to take out Enchantress with this one, and she is knocked low enough for that Near Fatal to kick in, so that's another enemy down. With only Null remaining, we're going to pretty easily win this one. The question is, who will get the final blow? We begin by setting him up with a web drop, and in this case we get a Relentless Rapier follow-up. Then he's going to use a World Breaker in return, and Near Fatal kicks in, taking him down. So that's how this video is going to end, but I want to thank you all for watching, ask you to please like, comment, and subscribe. Then until next time, good luck and take care.